Hi there, ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Schizophrenic Mitch. I was just over there telling people all about the prayer service we're about to have right over here. So I'm going to put my placards down and start these services. Hi ladies and gentlemen, my name is Schizophrenic Mitch. Don't be alarmed, don't be frightened. I understand this might be very uncomfortable seeing a fellow American exercise their First Amendment rights, but don't worry, I'm a professional, I've done this many times. I'm a real Pastafarian preacher from the cult of Flying Spaghetti Monster. I've come to this beautiful park, Parfait Park, quite a number of times. It's kind of like a touchstone. Please do step right up if you have any questions, don't be shy. I'm a real preacher from the cult of Flying Spaghetti Monster. First Pastafarian cult of YouTube today. I'll be holding right here for the next 20 or so minutes. Pastafarian church services, worship services. You are invited, of course, to join. As we are an all-inclusive church, you can even belong to another church while you still are a member of ours. We do not mind. We'll begin with a song. You feel free to join in. Maybe 2 songs and a prayer, and then I will sermonize at you until I grow tired of it. So those are the songs. I hope they put you in the mood for spirituality. I hope you can now feel the warmth of the noodly appendages of Flying Spaghetti Monster touching you all over your body. And I'm about to blow your minds, ladies and gentlemen. About to change your life forever. It should happen every day, I suppose. We will have a prayer now. Oh, Flying Spaghetti Monster, thank you so much for this lovely life you have given us. A wonderful place it is you have created for us to live in. What a gift it is that you sustain us every day. Thank you so much for being so distant and trusting us with this, your most beautiful creation. In the name of truth and love and the Flying Spaghetti Monster, amen. Now I will sermonize at you and I will tell you what's wrong with you, because that's why you come here, to understand what you're doing wrong. It's alright, we're all wrong. There's never going to be a point in your life where you're not. So, I will help you deal with that situation by mocking you and laughing at you and your imperfections. Pound religion. What is this? I'm going to read my notes here. We are a cult. I do say that I belong to a cult of Flying Spaghetti Monster. I've created a cult. I'm a cult leader. I have quite a lot of people who have said I will join your cult. I have them on camera, I have them on audio. If you want to go check, see how many people, it's quite a lot. We don't like to be put on lists. It makes us very uncomfortable, especially in this fascist society we're moving toward. But a lot of people say, what is a cult? What is a cult? I ask people, what do you think it is? And they say it's a false religion. That's obviously not true. If a cult was a false religion, there would be no one in cults. That's the whole point. They don't feel false from the inside. None of them do. It's just as false as any other religion, a cult. That's not what makes a cult a cult. What makes a cult is a number of things. The derogatory way that we say it now is a very high control group. We say high control group now instead of cult, because it doesn't mean anything. But I say cult because I am the keeper of the rituals, the culture that is growing out of the Pastafarian process, and I am attempting, and have taken it upon myself by the authority of Flying Spaghetti Monster and the promptings he's given me, to capture or collect the parts of the culture that I find to be valuable, including the rituals. One of the rituals is come out here on a Friday, which it is, beautiful Friday, in late March. I believe it's Good Friday to all of you heathens out there. It's one of your holidays, but we already had our spring holiday. Us in the civilized world, we had it on March 20th, when we had that equinox, which means equal night. Because we've been watching this clock for a long time, we've got it kind of sussed out, whereas you sheep herders are sort of missing a couple of the important points. And so this year, Easter, which is the first Sunday after the first full moon after the first day of spring, falls on April Fool's Day. So that's very satirical, and I think you guys should catch on about now. If you need a more fucking obvious example, I really don't know what to do. Like, if you're not going to learn from satire, go learn from something else. If you can't see Easter on April Fool's Day and then, you know, wake up at that point, I think you're looking at the wrong channel. I'm not here to upset you, I'm here to talk to the people that can hear me. So if you can't hear me, fuck off. But anyway, you're the April Fools. I'm sorry. Every year. I am not the one who has perpetuated this hoax. I am trying to de-perpetuate it, and you're not helping. So, anyway. The fuck was I talking about? Anyway, I would like to thank our Patreon, Scrupulous Atheist, for all the support that he's giving us. We can't get any money yet out of the Patronium program because we don't have enough yet in there. It's got to reach certain levels before they even care about you. And it's going to be a while before we reach that. So we do appreciate the support, but we don't feel the support yet. We will in the future, and we will appreciate it much, much, much more soon. But we very do appreciate the promise and the sort of money in escrow. I suppose that's how they get you, huh? They hold on to the money for you. Anyway, we do very much appreciate that. We also appreciate Drew for stopping by the live stream last night, hanging out with us for a couple of minutes. And maybe we'll be doing that in future, on Fridays. Maybe we'll be doing an evening live stream where you can call in or type into the chat box and we can talk to each other. Wouldn't that be great? Not today though. Today I'm in beautiful Golden, Colorado, the Parfait Park, one of my very favoritist places to preach, even though there is a sort of kids area right there, and we don't like kids at our church. Here I've got the two U's need to learn to communicate. So I've got right here. Sort of a schism happened to you previous to now, when you were a child, where sort of you developed another you, a second you, as it were. It's all very technical and I don't want to get into it, but they're not the same person. One of them is an adult and the other one is not. It's something else. And these two people reside in the same body and they pretend they're the same person, and they have a really hard time communicating to each other. They can't figure out, I wanted this then and I don't want it now. And it's because you don't acknowledge that you're more than one person, and that those people need to have and develop tools to communicate to each other. Your rational side and your spiritual side, we could call them. They're not the same person, that's alright. It's okay. And they still got to communicate. It's like that Pixar movie, you've seen that one, where all the people, Amy Poehler is in your head, Amy Poehler's in my head. But then it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? Their only problem is, well, not their only problem, the problem was Mr. Hyde was a murderer, wasn't he? So, don't do that. The other problem was they had a really hard time communicating. As do you. I don't want to call attention to any of the people passing by, but I preached about this earlier, I was talking about this the other day, is that there is no such thing as normal. There's no normal person. Every person is weird. You can feel it if you're a person. You can feel how weird you are. The differences between you and the average person are glaring. You feel very strange and weird because you are. You're not normal. There are in fact no normal people. There's no such thing as that. There is average on a lot of scales that we talk about, but there is no one who is average. There's no average person. There is average height, and there is average intelligence or whatever. Average age, I suppose, but there's no average person. There's not a thing. And so the people who are pretending to be that average person are pretending. The people who appear to be average are, in fact, pretending. They're lying, in fact, about it. And they're practicing lying very well, and they're very, very good at it. The people who appear normal are very, very good liars, because they've been practicing it every day. They wake up and they put on their mask of normalness, and they go out in the world and do a normal job and live a normal life and appear incredibly normal. And it's you who's the recipient of their lie. They're lying to you. They're not lying to themselves. They don't think of themselves as normal. They recognize the mask they wear. And that mask is designed to fool you. You are the recipient of their lies, and you are the person they're trying to trick. And who else would it be? It's not their parents, right? They wouldn't be wearing it. It's not their God. Their God can see through the lies. It's you. You're being lied to. And you're lying back, probably. And that's not a very good conversation. It's kind of a waste of energy. Everyone who is alive believes that their God is true. It's true. Every single one of us has a different religion. I can prove it on paper if you want. Check this link down below to go to my essay on that. That everyone has their own God. We worship our own God. No two Christians actually do agree. They talk about the things they agree upon, but they don't talk about the disagreements they have, but they're always there. That's why that book is able to make so many different sects, is that it's a reflection of you. Everyone broadcasts their own God up into the sky. Gods are man-made generally, especially the ones that look like humans. And so they all worship separate gods, different gods. Everyone believes their God's true. And if this is going to be a reciprocal conversation, you've got to acknowledge that about the people that you're going to be having conversations with, is that we all feel that way. None of us feel that we're worshipping the wrong God and we're wrong about it. So it's true. If you look at how many people are worshipping different gods and what they say, you can definitely see they're not the same God. I do not worship the God of the Christians. I don't believe in the blood sacrifice. I don't believe in slavery, and I don't believe in telling ladies they're less than us. I don't believe in any of that. I worship a different God. They worship the Hebrew God of the Bible, and I worship a different one. And they think that my God is nonsense, and the whole point, I suppose, is that's how I feel about yours. And we've got to acknowledge that however silly my God looks to you, yours looks exactly this silly to everyone else. I know my God looks silly. I'm fine with that. I understand that. I'm not sure you do. Not sure you understand that our gods look silly to each other. And one of the ways that we can further this conversation is to admit that the God we worship might be ridiculous. Especially to people who look back at us 1,000 years from now. We might look incredibly ridiculous. That would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? I don't want to be embarrassed. It's the worst thing in the world, being embarrassed. I was listening to some music the other day, and I don't mean to criticize the band, I just mean to criticize the point of view. So here is a lyric, and I'm going to kindly savage it, I suppose. When my body won't hold me anymore, and it finally lets me free, will I be ready? It continues. It's a lovely song. It's hard to criticize the song, but the position of, I mean, and it could be intentional, but it's very cynical, isn't it? That this is a prison, that we're stuck here until we can go home. That's very cynical. And if you continue that thought, you're going to be sinning against this place where I live. You're sinning against me and my reality and my universe. At the end of the song they say, I have no enemies, and that's not true. He has declared himself enemy to me, and I reciprocate. he can feel that way as he dies, but it won't be true. We are enemies, our points of view are enemies. Because you live in slavery, and that's not what this planet is for. Using the wrong metaphor for what this is brings a mind to incorrect conclusions. And every metaphor we use is incorrect, always has been, and it probably always will be. When we live in our minds in a sea of metaphor, there is no truth in there. There's a difference between inside our heads and outside. Here's reality and here's metaphor, and we only think in metaphor. And our metaphors are always going to be inaccurate. Our description of gravity is inaccurate. Our description of light is inaccurate. They are metaphors for what's going on, so that the meat can understand it. And will bring us to wrong conclusions. It gives us biases. Builds optical illusions that we view the world through. So criticize the metaphor you use and find its flaws. If the metaphor you use is, this is a prison, think about what flaws that might be introducing into the world that you're going to raise your children in. The mind will treat this world poorly until they understand it, just like kids with pets. They treat them pretty poorly until they understand the relationship. The one true cult on this earth, the cult of flying spaghetti monster. I've been told that I'm using the wrong tone for my message. I've been told that my message may be sound, but the tone that I'm using undermines it, so that no one can receive it. I've been told that yelling is not productive, that if I want to be heard, I ought to lower my voice. As if being polite would work better. As if being polite gets you heard. As if being quiet and sitting down and taking what you're given changes this world for the better. I don't believe that's the case. I don't know of any scripture that says that's true. It might be a heathen thought, I'll have to think about it. But I do believe I've tried being polite. I don't do this all day, every day. Some of the time in my life I'm rather polite when I talk about these things. And I don't know if that person has as many subscribers as I do. I don't think it's politeness that moves this conversation forward. I think it's politeness that stops the conversation. That's why we're so far behind, is because we've been polite. They told us to be polite, and we believed them as if they had truth, which we can prove they don't. Religion is angry. The topics that I'm talking about matter. These are things I'm passionate about. And our opponents are dangerously wrong. Their ignorance is self-imposed at this point, and we are angry at their irresponsibility. We have tools to express that, and it is our turn to express how we feel. Please do subscribe, join my cult, click the button, and let's change this fucking shithole into the heaven that our children deserve. See you never, fuckers.